What's happening in the news, you ask? Well, I will tell you right here on the Israel Brief. Welcome to it. We meet here every Monday to Thursday with me, Rolene Marks, where we take a look at those top stories making the headlines in Israel that you might not necessarily see in the mainstream media. And because we are a community, a family, I love the interaction between all of us. So if you do have any questions about Israel, the situation, Jewish history, please pop it in the comments section below, and I will do my absolute best to address it. And we do have a question today coming from Stephen Spinellis regarding the situation on the north of our border. As always, the Israel Brief is brought to you in partnership with these guys, Lay of the Land. More about them a little later. But it is day 264. Day 264 since the horrific invasion by Hamas on the 7th of October, which resulted in the murder, the mutilation, the wholesale slaughter, mass rape and kidnapping of over, we could actually say about 1,500 people, that is including those murdered and those taken hostage. Now, some of you had some comments about my hair yesterday. Listen, it's very, very hot here. It's very, very humid. Everybody's miserable because it is so very, very hot. A girl's got to put her hair up, okay? So try to do a better job today, but thank you for your constructive feedback. So let's take a look at those top stories. And Hamas have responded to Israel's National Security Advisor, Tzachi Hanegbi, addressing the conference at Reichman University yesterday, where he said that there are plans starting to take form for the day after in the Gaza Strip. This has been a big discussion and also a big sticking point for the international community, who have criticized Prime Minister Netanyahu, saying that they want to know what he envisions for a day after in the Gaza Strip. Hanegbi, in his comments, said that the practicalities will start to be made public in due course. However, he envisions a Gaza Strip governed by Palestinians who are prepared to live alongside a state of Israel, and they would be backed by moderate Arab states. Hamas have responded to it, saying that they will not allow any meddling in the future of their people. Some of us looking at the media and the situation in the Gaza Strip, as well as the incitement of hatred in the textbooks, think that it's long overdue, some meddling into affairs in the Gaza Strip. Now, this by no means means that Israel wants to reoccupy the Strip. For those who might not be aware, Israel withdrew unilaterally from the Gaza Strip in 2005. Meanwhile, it has been reported that on the other side of the Palestinian equation, the Palestinian Authority, the successor to Mahmoud Abbas, who is in the 19th year of his 4-year term, has met with officials in Russia, and they have reportedly discussed the international reaction or international action on how to end the war in the Gaza Strip. Yesterday, Israel's Supreme Court voted unanimously that the government needs to start drafting from the ultra-Orthodox community into the IDF. They are to start with about 3,000 eligible Haredi who are called now to serve in the IDF. The issue of the ultra-Orthodox or Haredi serving in the army has been very, very contentious since the early founding of the State of Israel, when they were given exemption. Now, the Supreme Court says there is no legal basis to prevent them from serving, and that the government must also withhold funding the yeshivas because they say that they need to get out of the yeshivas and to serve alongside their peers. Of course, as you can imagine, this has resulted in a lot of unhappiness from the ultra-Orthodox community, their political parties threatening to topple the coalition by pulling out. And we have heard some very, very harsh language around this. Now, this is not to say that there aren't members of the ultra-Orthodox community that don't already serve. There are units in the IDF that cater to their specific religious needs. The ultra-Orthodox feel that serving in the IDF threatens their religious needs and their religious observations, but the IDF is prepared to meet them halfway by making sure that whatever they are needing, whether it be extra kashrut, extra strict kosher, or to be separate from females, whatever they need, their needs are met. But for the majority of Israelis, this is a decision that is long overdue. For the majority of the Israeli public, we have lost nearly 700 of our finest sons and daughters since the 7th of October in defense of the state of Israel. And it is really felt that, everybody should be fighting for the future of this country, especially if you live off the benefits of this country. It is your duty to serve. And you can be sure that we will be following this story very, very closely. Hamas have reportedly fired on a humanitarian convoy organized by UNICEF. This is the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. Now, the convoy was transporting children from the north of the Gaza Strip to be reunited with their families in the south, and they were guarded by IDF soldiers. And this is a story that's not making the mainstream media. You can see the footage of the mortar being fired on the convoy, but what is not making the international media, who are frenzied with accusations of genocide and famine, is that the IDF secure humanitarian convoys, and especially when it comes to innocent civilians, especially children. And Hamas fired on these civilians, on our soldiers, which just goes to prove that Hamas still cynically exploit their civilian population, because the more civilian deaths that occur, the more they incur the sympathy of the global media and also the global community, which is why we say, first of all, there's no genocide being committed in the Gaza Strip. If Israel wanted to commit genocide, we would be able to do that in a matter of days. This is not our intention. Our intention is to absolutely ensure civilian safety at all times, especially convoys with children. And on the subject of safety, the United Nations have also said that they will suspend aid into the Gaza Strip until their security can be confirmed. They admitted that there are many Palestinians, because there is no rule of law and due to lawlessness and looting, they are unable to distribute aid safely. And finally, the story that I really hoped I never ever had to share. Yesterday we marked 263 days, which means that for 263 days, 120 hostages have been held captive by Hamas. One of those hostages is Kfir Bibas. When Kfir Bibas was taken captive by Hamas, who felt no compunction to take a 9-month-old baby hostage, he was 262 days old, and yesterday marked a horrific turning point. That little Kfir Bibas has now spent the majority of his life in captivity. Our greatest fear here in Israel is that many out there in the world are forgetting about the hostages. I didn't see the mainstream media pick up on the video that was released just 2 days ago that featured hostages Hirsch Goldberg Polin, Or Levy and Elia Cohen. And this is a danger that we worry about. We need everybody to make sure that the world does not forget about our hostages and demand that they are released now. Bring them home now. Release them now. We want every single one home, either to be reunited with their family and to begin the healing process, or to be buried with dignity as befits any human being. So now let's take a look at today's question. It comes from Stephen Spinellis, who says, what is the UN doing in Lebanon? Why can't they stop Hamas? Okay, so first of all, for clarification, it is not Hamas, even though there are Hamas units in Lebanon. It is not Hamas essentially that is responsible for firing rockets and drones and anti-tank missiles on the Israeli communities in the north. That is Hezbollah. Hezbollah, like Hamas, are also an Iranian-sponsored proxy. And what we want is for the United Nations and the international community to force Hezbollah to fulfill their obligations of UN Resolution 1701. You can hear the beeps, which means more rockets, more drones being fired into Israeli territory. What we want is for the United Nations Interim Forces in Lebanon, or UNIFIL, to fulfill their mandate, which was extended a few months ago, which is to ensure that Hezbollah and their compatriots stay north of the Litani River. That's the resolution that was put in place in 2006 following the Second Lebanon War. Hezbollah are in violation of that. We call on the UN Secretary General, all of the UN agencies like the Security Council, to make sure this mandate is enforced. And we call on the international community to put the pressure on the United Nations to enforce their mandate. This will put an end to the escalation in the north and will ensure the safety of our Israeli civilians and Lebanese civilians in the south of that country. So I hope that answers your question, Stephen. Remember, if you have a question, pop it in the comments section below. And that brings me to the end of today's edition of the Israel Brief. Don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online, our Facebook page at Lottel's site. Our YouTube channel is at the Israel Brief, and we are on X at Lay of the Land 5. What did I say our Facebook page was? It's at Lottel's site. Guys, it's so hot here. Even my brain is curdling, but that doesn't stop me from loving you guys. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.